this is where my problem is with our entire industry. How do we help the creative artist who is working through their art, trying to build their own concepts, perhaps, or work on a script and develop it? How do you do that if all you're doing is joining a festival and being told you have a slot, but you're in competition with everybody else, and there's no particular way to advertise to the people, quote unquote, that matter?
Mitch, we're back. I know we're looking for a working title, but we cannot name the podcast The Business of Theater, Bells and Whistles.
Frame of reference, please.
Well, Bells and Whistles is a song in Schmigadoon, which was a TV series on Apple TV, which is now becoming a music. Well, it's a musical. There's a musical version that was presented at the artist formerly known as the Kennedy Center for the Performing Arts. But it's now making its way to Broadway in the spring of 2026. And so Bells and Whistles is also, it's a parody song that references elements of a chorus line, Chicago, little razzle dazzle, and company, because there's a patter section in it that is very similar to I'm Not Getting Married Today. And I just, as we were talking, our topic today made me think of this song, Bells and Whistles, and as soon as we get into the topic, this will all make sense, everybody.
That'll be a first.
Yeah.
All
over the place. But yes, this is The Business of Theater, a working title, because we have not found it yet. I am Darnelle Radford.
I'm Mitch Weiss.
And let's get down to business. So it's been a minute. We haven't recorded because so much happens in the fall as the fall begins. We wrapped up here in Philadelphia Fringe Arts, which takes over and consumes September. All the excitement of the theater season begins with this huge festival of 3,500 performances, I think. No, actually,
that's a big number.
No. I'm confusing the Edinburgh Festival Fringe, which had over 3,500 productions. Talking about Fringe Arts that had over 350 productions.
There you go.
Which many performances. I don't know how I keep track of all this. But, with all of that, and then what's going on in New York, sometimes it's hard to sit down and touch base in these moments.
And once again, for all this stupid newspaper articles about Broadway having troubles and how hard it is, there are more shows opening up this year. I can't keep track. I'm trying to find the money to even buy tickets to a quarter of them. First of all, they cost a lot, but there are a lot of them. So far, I've seen 3 off-Broadway shows. I've got tickets to another 4 Broadway shows coming up in November, and I'm not even coming close to filling in all the gaps, of all the new shows coming in. It's a lot. I have no idea if they'll make it. They're, good, bad, or indifferent, but I'm trying to keep track.
Yeah, absolutely.
And by the way, I want to give a shout out because you brought up the Fringe. I want to give a shout out, an organization here called Art New York, which is the Alliance of Resident Theaters of New York, Art New York. They had a conference this past week in which one of the panels spoke about, they represented 4 different festivals here in New York. And they all had different purposes. They all curate different types of theater or different entertainments. And it was fascinating because those of you out there who know anything about me, I am not a fan of festivals, mostly because I think they hurt the creative artists. They cost a lot of money to be part of. It's not the festival itself. It's just what they do is they go out there and they imply, because you're part of the festival, that you're going to have a good audience and that people will find out what you're doing. And the truth is, there's a lot of competition. And if you don't already know your audience, they may not show up.
Mm.
And you're still spending the same amount of money putting on a show. So that's been my argument in the past. These particular festivals sounded like they had their act together. They knew why they were doing it. They claimed they warned the people in their festival in advance of how much it may cost and not to spend the kind of money that many of them have already done.
Mm.
So that it was like a teaching situation, which I thought was pretty wise. So anyway,
Yeah.
a shout out to Art New York for having this panel amongst many others. And those of you who come to New York, it's a good organization to find out about.
Yeah. That's the similar struggle in Edinburgh, of course. I know that for Fringe Arts, many years ago, I used to have a PR group who worked with them, and they held these sessions where they educated the producers of the festival shows on how to talk to the press, how to draft a press release, how to get event insurance and things like that. A lot of stuff they taught them how to be producers. And I always thought that that was a really smart and valuable resource. They still provide resources like once you sign up, but that whole process, I just remember it as a standout, and it was like it really helped a lot of people get
Good
off the
to
ground.
hear. It's good to hear.
Yeah.
I want to be as positive as I can. I know, well, it's, creative artists, they can get desperate. And,
Hmm.
and if somebody says, gee, we liked your idea or we liked your script and you can be part of our festival, the first thing is, oh my God, my show's going to get up. And then when you find out, well, they're not giving you a stage manager, they're giving you an 11 a.m. slot and you only have 15 minutes to put up your set and take it down. But then we're giving you a 10:30 p.m. on a Tuesday night for your second performance,
Yeah.
and we're not advertising your work. You have to do your own. So what's the festival for? That is where the balance seems to be out of kilter for me. Luckily, there are some good festivals.
It is interesting because once you get into the amount of participants, a festival is a lot like a lottery. Your odds are just so much lower. Um, in terms of like, are you going to enjoy yourself? That's
Mm-hmm.
not to say that you won't find some work that was worth it. It's just the entire book makes you feel like the entire catalog makes you feel like you have to see everything and you won't see everything.
You can't.
And so in a sense you're saying like, why are there so many options? I couldn't even choose correctly, or I stayed in one camp. Like I didn't see any dance in for Fringe Arts because I had prioritized the theater category. And so even the theater category had many branches to go onto.
Right.
And so it's interesting because there's no real way for you to engage with the rest of the catalog.
It's
Like
also,
if you
you're a professional in the arts. There's an expectation of the people who participate that somebody in the industry, some gatekeeper, is going to see my work and open a door for me.
Hmm.
And my problem, again, with not just festivals, but pretty much our entire industry, is that doesn't happen very often, right? So if you're there with another 25 shows in a week's festival, and the only people who come to see your show are a few strangers along with your family and friends, then why did you take a second mortgage on your house to do that? You may have learned something, which is great. There's a great education in this, but this is where my problem is with our entire industry. How do we help the creative artist who is working through their art, trying to build their own concepts, perhaps, or work on a script and develop it? How do you do that if all you're doing is joining a festival and being told you have a slot, but you're in competition with everybody else, and there's no particular way to advertise to the people, quote unquote, that matter,
Yeah.
right?
I I will say a lot of it is thinking about what else you're going to gain from this. Like, for example, if you're in Edinburgh, right, and
Mm-hmm.
you have your show there, you don't necessarily know, and you can't set your watch to how many people are going to experience your work. However, You are in Edinburgh, you are in this space, and if you also do a little busking too, there's a lot of opportunity for you to capture like your road to Edinburgh, like your experience in Edinburgh. And so like if you think about it in that way, that is a way to say I got something back from that, but that
Right.
is what you're ultimately trying to make money or at least let people see your work. I'm just saying like this is how you see it as it's not a complete loss if you're able to capture the experience and then use that to maybe forward the work, go into another festival or just to get the attention of others.
And that's where the educational process falls apart in college, and it
Mm-hmm.
falls apart at the beginning of your career. If not, this is a very frustrating thing. I went to the meet and greet at Art New York, where there are many talented artists who are young and have started their own companies who are there. Um, and I was talking to a gentleman in his late 50s who is a member. And by the way, most of the members of Art New York are theater companies. They are off Broadway theater companies. Individual members are allowed, there's a different category. And this man walked around asking everyone to read his script. Well, I don't want to read a stranger's script. I have enough trouble reading all the scripts that are sent to me by people I know who I know are good writers. And here's a guy, and I felt bad, but it's not my job to let a stranger walk up to me and say, read my script. He doesn't know if I have good taste. He doesn't know what I can or cannot do. And I felt bad, but his expectations of what he was going to that meet and greet for were wrong. That's not what it was for. Literally, other people I just met and found out what they're about, and it was fascinating. And I will perhaps trip over them in the future, right? And
Yeah.
that's really what a meet and greet is for. You know, it's not a job interview.
Yeah.
But then a festival is not a stepping stone to Broadway. Every now and then one show out of thousands may find a producer. So it may happen, and there are a few shows that happen. But when you say there are 3,500 shows at Edinburgh, right? Come on,
Yeah.
one every 5 years gets beyond that. And who knows if more than 12 people show up to see your show after all that money that you spent getting to Edinburgh.
Yeah. And there, especially because, Fringe Arts has adopted this as well, where we used to call it the neighborhood fringe, and it's still called that, but it's there's a series of hubs. Like there are organizations who house a handful of the
Mm-hmm.
productions. And it's like that in Edinburgh too. And I'd imagine there that you have to kind of decide where you want to be. If you want to be at Pleasance Playground, if you want to be, at Underbelly or, any of those particular venues where they can house like 20, 30, um, you know, productions in their own right. It's like that you might just simplify it by saying, I'm staying near this one, and so we're going to see all the shows at that one. If you don't look through, but again, like they are trying to help you, but it does still sort of trap you in a box. Like
Yes.
when I was at Edinburgh, I wanted to see the LGBTQ work that was being produced. And so I kind of got stuck in that category for a minute where I was going through saying, this looks interesting. This is interesting. But if I had stayed there, I wouldn't have had a good mix of
All
things,
right.
so I had to sort of jump around. And so it is tricky. You do have to plan in advance. Like, if you are going to Edinburgh as a spectator, a consumer of art, it is sort of a job to kind of iron out what your itinerary is going to be.
And isn't it funny? Here we are, I'll speak for myself, complaining that there are just too
That
many
there's an
shows
abundance
to
of too many
see,
shows.
right?
Yep.
Oh my goodness, Broadway. I don't know I'm going to get to see even half of them this year. How horrible the
Good
situation.
problem to have.
Yeah, really.
I feel that way about presenting organizations like the traveling shows.
Mm-hmm.
It's like if I missed it last year, it was a hit. It'll be back. I'll come see it again. Um, you can't consume everything. I don't know if it's like there's something to be said about wanting to though. Are there enough people who just want to see everything? that can keep us afloat, you know?
Mm,
Or is the fact that that is so overwhelming? Some people find that exciting, but some people find it so overwhelming that they just give up. And they're like, I can't. I'm
right.
not gonna entertain any of this because there's too many options to consider.
You know, as they say, it's a horse race, right?
Yeah.
Recently, the other thing I feel bad about, I know I sidetracked our conversation already. I don't want to name it because I don't want to badmouth it. I went to a show, a new off Broadway show in previews at a wonderful theater company. So, the theater company I will support every day. But I went to a preview, and this show was badly written. The production's always good. You have good actors, it's a nice set design, the lights are professional, but basically the show did not work. And they were making, according to the associate artistic director who I know, he said they're making lots of changes every day. Well, good for them. And who knows, by opening night, maybe they'll save it. I don't see how. Because when you have a premise that just doesn't grab you,
Yeah.
and the dialogue just doesn't grab you. It's like you can reorder things, you can edit down. I'm not sure, and I hope I'm wrong. But the exciting thing is, if I don't see something like that, how do I appreciate the exciting things, right?
Yeah.
And that's an excuse that I can only make because I see a lot of shows. If I'm in town as a tourist and someone says you ought to go see this theater company, their work is good, and this is the only show you got to see, I'm upset for you. I'm upset that this is our best foot forward for the tourists. So where is the responsibility? Again, I work with an incubator that develops new shows. The idea is you work on it, you work on it, you work on it before you charge money and put it out for the public. You make sure that it looks, sounds, acts like something somebody ought to see, right? And then you hope your friends will come to the readings along the way and not hate you for having you see something that isn't that good yet.
I just think it's interesting that you get on, like, you've been dying to get on Broadway. There's probably like a wait list, you know,
It was a
you're
long
waiting.
wait list. You said,
Yeah. So, but when you finally get there, like, you don't know before tech that your play isn't working. Like, you don't, I mean, the actors, unless they're just so happy to have a job, like, the actors will tell you at the first table read what's not working.
here's a perfect transition. On Broadway, the best barometer for whether a show in previews is working and will be a hit are the ushers.
The ushers.
As a manager, we walk up to the ushers and we say, "What do you think?" And they are 100% correct. I have never been involved in anything that they didn't know what was going on. Sometimes they'll shrug and say, "Well, maybe in a week it'll be okay." I'll take that. They have seen everything. And even if they are not creative artists in their own right, they just feel it. You can sense something coming across that fourth wall of the stage. Speaking of which, ushers, see, the new equity, this is a bad transition, I apologize.
No, it'll work.
The new equity contract, which was just ratified, has what I consider to be a very important change in it. I just recently reported at the New York Times. I haven't read every detail because I haven't put the new contract out for us to read yet. But up until now, when an understudy goes into a show for a performance, it is required, the producer and manager must, no ifs, ands, or buts, they must do two out of three things. They must list their name in the lobby as going on for somebody else. They have to put a paper insert in the program stating they are going on for somebody, and or they can go and make an announcement. The stage manager can make an announcement over the PA from the stage saying tonight the role of blah 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 is being played by. They can do any two of those three. Well, the new code says they don't have to do that. They can put a Q. They don't have to do the inserts. They can put a QR code in the program And if you look at the QR code, you'll find out who's understudying. But if you don't look at the QR code, you're not going to know.
Yeah. I've got the article here. It says a little notice provision in the tentative contract agreed to this month between the Broadway League and Actors Equity Association makes those inserts stuffers in industry parlance optional. The deal, which was approved by equity members, allows shows to announce most cast changes through QR codes printed in playbills, along with either a verbal announcement or a cast list
It's
posted
still
in the
at a
lobby.
2 out of 3. But
Yeah.
the key to this is the ushers, because the ushers who do not make a lot of money, and these are wonderful people dealing with the obnoxious audience. And by the way, if you're not an obnoxious audience, don't think that they get away with it. There's always somebody in every audience that you want to kill. So they're the ones who deal with them face to face. And they make very little money, but they get a bump in salary when they are required to put inserts in a program. Now that bump goes away. So these people who are working 8 performances a week, who are working for very little money, who are the true barometers of whether a show is good or bad, they have just lost some money. And it's fascinating that their union didn't have any say in that, right? It's equity made the decision about their actors, and it affected other workers.
It's interesting because it said equity members, agreed to this.
Right, but equity members aren't affected by it financially.
Yeah.
It's only.
But what do you think their reasoning was for this? Because I still regret the fact that we opted out of going to see Gypsy because Audra wasn't there. It was only because it was it's the same reason for everybody. If you don't live in the area, this is a special event, and so since the press has been talking up their lead and not just the piece or the piece is so powerful, you must see it, you must engage with it, like they don't talk about it like that. They go, Audra is magnetic, or on fire or whatever, like, and you're just like, gotta see Audra. Like, they're not even talking about the rest of the cast, they're just talking about Audra. So if Audra's not there, the rest of the cast suffers. I feel like this is kind of a marketing thing too.
Well,
It's like perhaps
the pure reason is money. You got to remember, you have to print those inserts. And they have to, usually you may not know somebody is going on stage as an understudy until an hour before the show. And all of a sudden, which means you have to have the.
Now they got to rush to do that.
No, the inserts are pre-printed. We have them in the office, in the press office, sitting there in bundles. But they have to be rushed over to the theater. Or the ushers are told, guess what? You thought you just have to come in and do your show. Now we need you. You have a half an hour before the audience shows up. You have to quickly stuff every program that is going to be handed out tonight with this thing. And you can't sit around waiting and relaxing before you start work. You now have to do this other work, which is why they get a bump in salary. But now they don't get the bump. They don't have to worry about it. The inserts don't have to be printed. Lots of money is being saved.
Yeah.
Right? And time. I mean, the QR code, you can just put the QR code in the program and just leave it there and change what's on the page that the QR code goes to.
I just wonder, I'm interested to know why equity members agreed to this, because it seems like they would want to be listed as the understudy in there.
I agree.
But the thing is, like, I don't know. I don't know. I feel like the playbill is a keepsake on its own. Like, you really want the the Broadway cast listed in there, and they're already listed as understudies. I guess maybe that's why they're okay with this.
I think, quite honestly, as with most small print things, they heard that their health insurance is being helped. They heard that their salaries. Well, they didn't read it. If somebody doesn't put that in your face, because you got to remember, I think it's $149 pages of small print is the equity contract.
I mean, they did call it a little noticed provision.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So my guess is most of them didn't know. And the question would be why the negotiators thought that wasn't important to argue for. And maybe
Yeah.
sometimes you just say, okay, you gave us an extra $10 payment for the media payment. So you wanted this back, we'll give that to you. And it's, give and take. You don't know. We weren't in the room where it happened.
Yeah. I feel like, I don't know. I mean, we saw Merrily We Roll Along with an understudy for Lindsay Mendez,
Mhm.
and she was wonderful. I think they had more time to at least give her some praise because it was Broadway Cares, and so they were doing that element after the show. And so, but I feel like that's an opportunity to be like, you know, I just want to acknowledge so and so who stepped in today at like the 2 hours notice, and then the audience goes apeshit over that, like
Yeah.
what?
But
Yay! It's wonderful.
luckily, most casts and crew
Yeah.
celebrate understudies when they go on. They
Hmm.
especially if they do a spectacular job.
Yeah.
There's that feeling amongst your family,
Hmm.
and the general audience might not know the difference anyway. Like I said, if it's Audra McDonald, that's different.
Well, they do say it's optional, right? So, what do you think we're going to think about the companies, about the productions who continue to do the insert? You think it's going to change any kind of mindset, or are we going to walk out thinking something different? Like they did, because this is a little known, so they may not even.
Not after the New York Times printed it.
But do you think most theater goers who are going to sit in there go, they took out that insert? They call them stuffers.
I know that most of the people I know who have heard about it recently are talking about it. And
Mm,
I do believe it will be used by every theater by the new year. I think
mm.
stuffers have gone the way of many other things. It will be disappeared. Plus, it's garbage on the floor. I get that.
It's so interesting because I'm thinking about, early on when I started representing a theater company, it was like we wanted to have a good program, but at the same time we had to be realistic. Like we can't print the whole run in color.
Hmm.
So like opening night was in color and then the rest were in black and white. And now we're at this point where like on this other side of the pandemic, we were doing QR codes for a digital playbill, but this like threw a wrench into my own promotional plan. I was going to take a picture of the playbill and post that we're here in space, see us, as to help them, and so when you have a digital playbill, and I get it, I understand the point for like small productions or small companies, and like in the Fringe Festival, most of those programs were digital.
And
Like there was a lot.
I'm the opposite of a fan of digital programs. I think it's part of the experience, and I think that's the way I look at it. It's not about can
Yeah.
I get the information with a QR code? Of course I can. I'm savvy enough to know how to use it, and I will
Hmm.
check it. But I do remember I went to a show and I was rushing out afterward. I tend not to read the details of a program till after the show's over because I just like to experience them.
Hmm.
And then I find out, oh my God, I didn't know so and so, my friend was in it backstage. And I find out after the fact. But I ran out and the QR code, I never read it. And I'm thinking that changed my experience with the show. I'm not as connected. And
Yeah.
sometimes when you're sitting in your seat and there's still 10 minutes before the curtain goes up, it's nice to say, look at this. Look who did the orchestrations. It's the same person who did them for a chorus line. You learn that. If I'm not looking for that in a QR code and my phone runs out of battery, so you don't want to use it up, and it's small, a program is a good
Isn't it
size.
odd when your phone runs out of battery, yet it is still the one that rings in the theater?
Of course,
By 1%, some call got through.
I went to a friend's wonderful, yeah, and I'm not a fan of one person shows, but Perri Gaffney did a one person show, which I had seen her develop before. It was spectacular. She was amazing. And they came out 3 times at the start of the show. to say, please turn off your phones. We are videotaping this for her. And in the middle of the show, the guy sitting in front of me, his phone went off. 3 times they told everyone to do it. And he's searching through his coat. Where's my phone? It's like, what part of this do you not understand? Why, and that's why I say you deal with ushers, they deal with the worst. They really have problems. When there's someone's eating fried chicken in the balcony, the usher's the one who has to go deal with it. The manager's only called if there's a fight.
Sir, if you did not bring enough for everyone.
Yeah.
He's like, I did, though. Well, are you talking about Perry Tales?
No, it was called Just Me. And they're wonderful true stories, but told. She's a storyteller. She is one of those people who can make you laugh and cry and get upset all within the same minute. And still you learn something about her, which is, of course, and yourself in that sense, because you're comparing yourself to another person who has certain life experiences. I don't know what will happen with her show and the videotape. We'll have to see after they edit it. But she was doing this specifically to get the videotape so she could start to see whether she can find a theater company willing to let her do it. And she wanted to have it. So theater companies out there, it's a one-person show with some multimedia, and it's wonderful. Anyway.
There is a video clip on our website, which is Perry Tales.
Okay.
So it's linked in the chat. Go find out.
There you go.
I mean, not the chat. It's linked in the show notes. I'm in too many virtual spaces.
Well, too many.
Yeah.
So we're not gonna have time. We're gonna have to next time talk about pitch decks.
Yeah, we can carry this on. Yeah.
Okay.
But we were talking at the top of the show about how hard it is to get to all of these options. And I was going to say that New York City Center is doing BATBOY, the musical.
Which I am seeing Thursday night.
Good for you. I was trying to get tickets, but it wasn't the tickets that were a problem. It was Amtrak that was a problem. Amtrak is through the roof, and I planned so far in advance. And I was like, well, we could, from Philadelphia, we could take SEPTA to Trenton and then the Northeast Corridor. And I was like, this is just such a hassle, though.
Well, and vice versa. After you told me that, I said, okay, well, planning in advance to come to your theater in Philly, which I like to do a couple of times a year. It's short enough travel. I could not get a ticket that I could afford. It was going to cost me what a high-priced Broadway ticket was to see a show in Philly that was very reasonably priced.
Yeah.
And quite honestly, especially since I don't know what show it will be, why would I plan ahead to go see something I don't even know what it is?
True.
So now I have to wait. And if it's worth it, I'll look for the best way to get there. But between you and me, it ain't going to be a Greyhound bus.
I know I know a lot of people have added to their workflow these buses, and we used to take Megabus a lot, but there were so many issues there. Like, we got savvy and we started booking the reserve seats, so at least we could all sit together. But most of the time, it was bad weather when we were on the bus, and so we would often have to wait in the rain for the bus to come.
Right.
And the bus was never on time, but it somehow got you to where you needed to go on time. It was just never on time in terms of picking you up.
No,
so that was an experience for a while. We just decided not to do that anymore. We book far in advance for Amtrak, but it just hasn't been. I think everybody's caught on to this idea for Amtrak.
We've got the idea that all the subsidies that we've needed, we're not even going to talk about the government shutting down and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Everything not only has gotten more expensive, it feels like there's not going to be a reprieve for any of us. So Amtrak, which was a great option in the Northeast, now is a problem. And I don't know, I don't know if they'll be fine. I don't know if losing my business is going to hurt them. I doubt that. But it is problematic. It's a big difference. It's a big difference.
I think there's still people who buy multi and monthly passes and all that. And so I think they're going to be okay. I also think that because there was a time where they were advertising if you book, like, I don't know, it was like a month in advance that you could get half price tickets. It was some kind of promotion like that. And
Used to be, yes,
but
yeah.
they got the numbers up on all the people who were doing that. And I will admit there's a part of me that's a tiny bit bougie when I'm on an Amtrak train because the chaos of the Northeast Corridor, particularly as it pertains to New Jersey Transit, wasn't the same. That wasn't the fact on an Amtrak train, but now it is. You're getting rowdy people on these trains on Amtrak as well. And it just seems like I don't know what the reasoning is, but before you were on this train because you were like, I'm a business person, or I don't know, there was just a different mindset of the riders on the train. It's different now, and it feels like you're on the top level of a double decker New Jersey Transit with people who are smaller than their luggage and just a lot of chaos because people are frustrated that what they need to bring on this public transportation vehicle is too much and it's stressing them out and they're frustrated with everybody
I
around them.
wonder if it has to do with the fact that we have less dependable flights coming out of
Mhm.
airports, and people, instead of taking all their luggage on a flight, are lugging it around on train. I haven't noticed that experience on Amtrak personally.
We make a point of never getting on the train behind someone with luggage.
There you go.
They will always hold you up and 10 seats get filled before you can get past them.
Yeah. Okay. Well, on that note,
Calling out everybody who brings luggage, big luggage on trains.
well, to just quote our upcoming performance of chess, nobody's on nobody's side.
Well, I got to make a point to get tickets for chess.
While again, we not a full topic, but I am one of those people. I saw the very first preview of
Mm.
chess when it first opened on Broadway, and I'll say one thing about it. It was 4 hours and 11 minutes long. The first preview. Now, for those of you who know anything about unions, that's double overtime for the crew and the musicians. The next night, I was told they had cut 20 minutes out of the show in one day because who can afford 4 hours and 11 minutes? You can't. There's no show. You couldn't charge enough. Literally, it's like double time for everybody just because you went 1 hour over. So at the same point, it was not a good show. And my friend who did see the Michael Bennett version of chess in London before it came to New York, Michael Bennett, who's the director choreographer of A Chorus Line and Dreamgirls and Promises, Promises and Follies and on and on and on. He directed and choreographed the original production in London and then died before the show had its premiere in London. He was ill during rehearsals. Therefore, they could not use his choreography or his direction when they brought it to New York because
Huh.
he owned it and no one had processed the will or who's in charge or whatever. So they brought it to New York with a different director, Trevor Nunn, who had done Cats. And Trevor Nunn totally revamped the whole thing. They rewrote the script before it came to New York. So now what I saw I have no idea what it was in London, except my friend told me it was brilliant. So we went from brilliant to, oh my God, this is 4 hours and 11 minutes, and it doesn't make sense, even though the music's spectacular. So I'm very interested in seeing this new revival and if they've been able to save any of it.
Yeah. I'm going to clock that as your one singular sensation.
That's good for you. That's perfect. Thank you. What's
Yeah.
yours?
So my one singular sensation is the movie Blue Moon.
Mm.
Blue Moon was written by Robert Kaplow. It was directed by Richard Linkletter. and it starred Ethan Hawke,
Who
Margaret Qualley.
doesn't look anything like Ethan Hawke?
No, Margaret Qualley, Bobby Cannavale, and Andrew Scott. It's one evening, March 31st, 1943. Legendary lyricist Lorenz Hart confronts his shattered self-confidence in Sardi's bar as his former collaborator Richard Rodgers celebrates the opening night of his groundbreaking hit musical Oklahoma. And I did not know what to expect when we saw it. I mean, when we sat down, my partner Matthew was talking about it, and it was barely playing in the area. Like we had to find a location for it. I think there's more screens on it now, but it literally takes place at Sardi's bar. Just
Which I'm told they recreated in Scotland or somewhere in Europe. They could not use the real Sardi's, but to an inch of its life, they said they recreated Sardi's restaurant.
I was wondering that because I've never been inside.
You've never been to Sardi's?
No, I haven't.
Next time,
I mean, I've walked past it.
Next time you're here, I'll take you. Okay?
Great.
That's a date.
We'll go. I think Ethan Hawke did a great job with this performance, and I'm in love with Margaret Qualley. Anyone who is going to movies these days may have seen the movie Honey, Don't, and Margaret Qualley was in that. Very good. Bobby Cannavale, he is just good in everything.
Yes, he is.
Most recently in Only Murders in the Building this last season.
And he's currently on Broadway in Art.
Yes, absolutely. And Andrew Scott, who I'm just in love with. I love Andrew Scott. Yeah, he's been all over the boards too. And he plays Richard Rodgers in this. Yeah, so that's my singular sensation. We saw it, enjoyed it. I didn't know what to expect. But then after we watched it, I was like, of course we came to see this. Of course we saw this. But yeah.
All right.
That was it. Is there anything else we want to say before?
No, except that Broadway is not dead.
No, it's
Theater is not dead.
No, it's not.
And for those of you out there who just want to be part of it, don't give up. It's worth it. It's just a wonderful place to work, to be entertained. Just please marry someone rich so you can afford the tickets.
What was I going to say? I am going to 1, 2, 3, 4 shows this week.
Wow.
4 shows this week. 3 of them are opening nights, and the other one, there was a conflict for the opening, so I'm going on a Sunday matinee. But I'm so excited by all of these shows, and that's why I'm going. And even though it seems a bit overwhelming to go to 4 shows in a week, I wouldn't have it any other way. I'm a huge fan of Philadelphia theater, and so I try to show that by showing up and bringing a friend, because theater is always more fun with a +1, as I always say. So yeah, get out to the theater, bring a friend, tell everyone you know, and then go back again. But that's the business of theater, a working title. I'm Darnelle Radford.
I'm Mitch Weiss.
And we'll see you at the theater.
Yeah.
We better see you at the theater, because we're going to see you at the theater. See you at the theater.
Bye.